and on behalf of all of the performing arts teachers at Free State, I'd like to welcome you all to the third annual Performing Arts Department's Honor Recital. Tonight's concert features some of the very best performers in Free State's music department, representing choir, debated forensics, orchestra, band, and piano. Each of these students earned an outstanding rating at the state level this year and were deemed by their directors to be performances of the highest caliber. Hearing such a diverse range of talents is a direct testament to the quality of students and programs here at Free State, and we can't wait for them to share their hard work with you here tonight. We'll take a group photo with all honors recital performers on stage immediately following the final performance. And before we begin, I'd like to share a quick note from Mr. Bradshaw, Director of Free State's bands, who cannot be here tonight. Good evening. I wanted to take a moment to apologize for not being in attendance for this recital. This is truly one of my favorite evenings of the year, and as we get to showcase a small portion of the amazingly talented students we work with in our Performing Arts Department at Free State High School. Having attended a few of these, I know you're in for a treat. Parents and guests, thank you for your continued support throughout their musical journey. Tonight serves as a great example of why your efforts were well worth it. And students, I wish you the absolute best of luck, and I know you'll share an inspiring performance. Tonight is only a snapshot of the dedication and hours you have spent to this point in your life, learning and honing your craft. Your performance tonight is not only well-deserved, but well-earned. And finally, thank you to Ms. Richardson for live streaming this recital. Although I'm in Virginia, I'll do my very best to listen, watch, and share the joy and pride of tonight's performance. And that's all. Thank you all so much for coming, and enjoy the concert. First up, we have the performance of Serenade for Strings in E minor, Opus 20, Movement 2, composed by Edward Elgar, and performed by our chamber orchestra. perform Movement 1, composed by Franz Schubert and performed by Anders Benson. piece is performed by Corey Demelash with accompanist Mr. Joseph Piontek on the piano. And performed by the Free State Trombone Quartet. Sebastian Bach and performed by Drew Harrison on the violin. Conversation, which is a 10-minute persuasive speech, both written and performed by Brianna Randall.
In the second grade, I discovered my dream pet. Suddenly, I became a hedgehog fanatic. Who wouldn't want a cute little animal that could roll up into a spiky ball at any moment? So, after several years of begging, pleading, my parents finally agreed, and Harley Quill entered my life. I was over the moon, and she was my stars, because hedgehogs are nocturnal, and she kept me up at night. This made it all the more devastating when we had to unexpectedly put her down last December. I had never experienced a loss before, and I didn't know what to do. From the reactions of the people around me, they didn't seem to either. In 2021, the National Library of Medicine found that over 1/3 of people who are grieving a loss struggle to find support from friends and family. Not because they don't want to help, but because they don't know how. Grief is deeply personal and difficult to navigate, and failing to understand it causes the people around us to withdraw, which prolongs their pain when they are already hurting. We must learn to support others around us through presence and empathy. So today we'll first discuss the misconceptions of grief, then understand how some support invalidates emotions, and finally, learn how to actually be there for people. Because no matter what, everyone deserves to grieve in the way that is right for them, and it's our job to support that. As I walked out of the vets that evening, I was handed a pamphlet. Understanding Loss and What Happens Next detailed the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I was relieved to be reminded of the blueprint for what I would be feeling, if only it were that simple. Everyone has heard of the 5 stages of grief, which was first introduced in the psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 1969 book on death and dying. And although the 5-stage theory has become widely popular, journalist Ada McVean reminds us that Kubler-Ross was not writing about grieving someone else's death. On Death and Dying describes how people react to their own terminal diagnoses, not how they should grieve the loss of another. The 5-stage theory is specific to a particular kind of grief, but between scientists' misunderstandings and grievers' misapplications, it causes more harm than good. The Marie Curie charity explains that a blueprint for grief creates the idea that we should feel a certain way at a certain time. When we don't, we worry about moving at the wrong pace, skipping or adding stages, or trying to fit ourselves into a single stage, when psychiatrists can't even agree what bargaining means. I mean, we can't all run up that hill like Kate Bush to make a deal with God, because we don't all grieve in the same way. Thinking that we do makes us believe that it's okay to avoid our discomfort because following the process will make it okay. The next day, the messages started to roll in. I'm so sorry for your loss. Let me know if you need anything. She'll always be with you. I knew the intention was good, but it all felt empty. We've been trained to grieve based on the 5 stages, which oversimplifies our emotions. But we've also been trained to respond in ways that invalidate them. Death education counselor Julia Rajtar explains that it's hard to ask for help because we believe that we need to stay strong for others. When we do finally seek help, the answers feel like a script. A survey by the National Center for PTSD found that phrases like, "you will get through this," and "it's God's will," are received as dismissive. Meanwhile, questions like, "is there anything I can do?" puts pressure on the person who is grieving. When Harley passed, everyone asked me what they were supposed to do to support me. And I never had an answer, because all I wanted was Harley back. Eventually, they stopped asking because my answers weren't descriptive enough, and they began to move on. But for me, it was like the stars in the sky had gone dark. And I felt wrong for still grieving. I began to ignore my grief in an attempt to move on like everyone else. The Quran clinics found that having their emotional experiences ignored or dismissed is invalidating for someone who is grieving. On top of the sadness, anger, and anxiety that a grieving person is already experiencing, invalidation pushes them towards isolation, depression, and intense shame and guilt. Our world has already collapsed, and it's like we've fallen down with it. In 2025, the National Library of Medicine found that 7% of the grieving population experienced prolonged grief disorder. When someone ignores their grief, it can cause it to last longer or more intensely than anything they have ever experienced, making it more likely for them to experience significant stress on their heart and immune system, or even commit suicide. When you support someone in the wrong way to begin with, it makes it harder for them to recover then and later, because they don't know if they can trust your support or anyone's support. A few days after Harley passed, a couple of speech and debate nerds invited me to our local Chipotle after a tournament. It was just dinner, and even though Chipotle was out of chicken and I had to get sofritas, talking and laughing at inside jokes was the first time I felt truly happy after I lost Harley. I felt seen and supported in a way that I didn't have to ask for. The goal when supporting someone who is grieving should be to get them from what Dr. Catherine Shear, the director of the Center for Prolonged Grief at Columbia University, calls acute grief, or the initial feeling of loss, to integrated grief, learning to live with the loss. But death education counselor Julia Rajtar reminds us that we don't need to be the only ones supporting someone who is grieving, because we have different skills to help different people. Instead, we need to be one of the DLRs: doer, listener, respite. The doer is someone who physically does something to provide support. Harvard Health Publishing lists examples of answering the phone, helping clean the house, or bringing over a meal. I mean, it's basically a canon event at this point for a Midwest mom to show up with a casserole. Yeah, I know, 30 minutes at 350 degrees, return the pan when I'm done. The listener is someone who takes the time to, wait for it, listen. Clinical counselor Gayla Chatterton found that giving someone the space to talk about their feelings or of the death sends the message, "I'm here for you." And as these check-ins occur, even months after the loss, they remind the person that they're not a burden for processing their own emotions. The respite is someone who gives you a distraction from your grief. Rajtar explains that helping someone take a break, like going to the movies or to a restaurant, can help them get out of their own head. It is important to process our emotions, but we shouldn't let them consume us. The goal when supporting someone who is grieving isn't to force them to get over it, but to ensure that they don't go through it alone. I miss Harley every day, but my doer parents, listener friends, and respite teammates reminded me that People want to help. My stars may have dimmed, but the light in my life hasn't. As scary as it may seem, we can support our grieving loved ones. Today, we uncover the misconceptions behind the 5 stages of grief, discuss the pitfalls of inadequate support, and recognized how being a DLR is the best way to support someone who is grieving. Nothing can prevent the causes of grief, but true support can shine like starlight in the darkness and remind you that you are allowed to feel exactly as you are.
Next up, we have the performance of Gia il Sole del Gagne, composed by Alessandro Scarlatti. This is performed by Colby Stetler with accompanist Mr. Joseph Piontek on the piano. Next up, we have the performance of Elegy, composed by Gabriel Forbes. This is performed by Lillian Heathcote on the cello, with accompanist Tonya Judd on the piano. performed by Patricia Cooper on the marimba. Next up, we have the performance of Sisit Servus, composed by Giovanni Pierluigi de Palestrina, performed by Free State Choir's Chamber Singers. Next up, we have the performance of Lakme Flower Duet, composed by Leo Deleuze. This is performed by Lauren Hanna on the flute and Toby Kwan on the oboe, alongside accompanist Mr. Joseph Piontek on the piano. We're all going to be taking a group photo with all honors recital performers on stage immediately following this final performance. But lastly, to cap out a night of outstanding performances, we have the performance of Happy Cooking, composed by Kazuo Yashiro, performed by Owen Co. Jazz Trio.